Oh, how sweet it is to be back home in Frisco, Texas, in the Globe Life Studios for the first time in the 2022 season. This is Special Edition with our entire Special Edition crew joining us here from Frisco. Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, Nate Newton. Nate's excited down there today. How about that? Our boy BC's back in the building. I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us as the preseason for the Dallas Cowboys has officially come to a close. 3 games down, no more to go. Of course, the first 3-game preseason for the Cowboys, second year that the NFL has adopted that rule. But now we turn our attention to September 11th and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at AT&T Stadium. A little bit of time between now and then. We've got some shows between now and then. But, Barry, I'll start with you. What's your overall thought about this ball club as the preseason comes to an end?
Well, there's definitely some positives and some negatives as well. On the offensive side of the ball, there's a lot of question marks. When you talk about that offensive line, this young receiving core, I think there's going to be a lot of pressure on Dak Prescott to elevate those guys. But when you talk about defensively, I think they're poised to have another breakout year for this 2022 season, led by Dan Quinn, Micah Parsons. During camp, those guys were flying all over the place.
I totally agree with you. I think that this defense is going to be the absolute star of the entire team. I think these guys are going to be really getting after it in terms of getting the sacks, in terms of turnovers. They're really going to double down on what they did last year. But one of the bright spots of this preseason is really Kevontae Turpin. You think about some of the guys that have showed up on the receiver side of things. You think about the young defensive backs like Deron Bland. Those guys have really shown up this preseason and really been big surprises from guys that you didn't really expect to get surprises from.
You know, I'm trying to stay calm. I went into this season worrying about the preseason, worrying about the offensive line. I'm leaving out of this preseason worrying about the offensive line. We have had no continuity the whole training camp, and that is a big worry for me, and that is the issue. Yes, we have some positive with the defense, but until we fix this offensive line, I'm going to have some sleepless nights.
And they're going to have to do so probably with some sleepless nights, to be honest, without Tyron Smith at the left tackle spot. There's been plenty of great reps for these young offensive linemen, Tyler Smith, Connor McGovern, Tyler Biadasz, Terrence Steele, throughout the preseason, throughout training camp. But now they're going to have to do it without their anchor, without their leader, Isaiah. Tyron Smith out for months at a time because of this injury. It was a torn left hamstring, an avulsion fracture, which basically means that the ligament was torn off of the bone, just not a pretty injury, in the middle of practice on Thursday evening at the Star in Frisco. And there's been quite some time that the Cowboys have seen Tyron Smith injured throughout his career, and this isn't the first time. It was kind of one of those, it's a matter of time moments as you take a look at his injury history. 3 games. The big one in 2020 with the neck injury that lasted for 14 games. This is going to equal that. You're going to have to find a way to replace him. That's not easy to do, Isaiah.
No, I don't know if you can. I think you could obviously put somebody in his place, but in terms of replacing the productivity that you get with Big 7-7 and what he's been to the Dallas Cowboys over these years, I don't think that's possible. That's not something that you just find on the street. Shoot, you could barely find it around the league as a starting left tackle around the league. So I think that you're going to have to do some very creative things in terms of how you want to fulfill that role. Scheming it up is not going to be enough.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, they're going to miss Big 77 out there. I mean, when he's healthy and when he's out there and hitting on full cylinders, this is an all-world player, a Hall of Fame caliber player. But like you mentioned, Cal, he hasn't played a full season since 2016. So I don't think it's wise that the Cowboys kind of rely on him going forward. I think they're going to have to do something when it comes to that left tackle position. But right now, I think the Cowboys are scrambling, trying to fill that void in which Tyron Smith has left at left tackle.
You know, they unloaded Amari Cooper, Collins. They unloaded a lot of guys that had big contracts, and they didn't feel that they were living up to that money. Well, this is a guy that averages maybe 12 games a year, and he's still so good and so great. Yeah. So they didn't unload him. They kept him here because they believe that he's a good player. Now we're worried, can he get back and give us to the end of the season? Because if he does, we have a chance to be something. If he don't, it's going to be hard to see.
When he's on the field, he's one of the best left tackles in all of football. No doubt about it. When he's healthy and ready to go, but that's a big-time if, and at least at the moment, he's not healthy for the Dallas Cowboys. So when we come back here on Special Edition, let's look at some of the options. How can the Cowboys replace a player of the caliber of Tyron Smith? Is it in-house? Are they going elsewhere? We'll talk about it next.
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, is brought to you by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas. Reliant, an NRG company. Blockchain.com, trusted by millions, trusted by America's team. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys. This segment is brought to you by Salvation Army. Love Beyond.
Yeah, it's very tough. Like I was saying out there, like I was the first person over there. I was in pass protection. All of a sudden, I just see him over on the ground. Didn't even care about like where the ball was downfield, cover and finish. Like I just instantly right to him, and you saw literally everyone on offense, even defensive guys, run over. Like when a guy like that goes down, like it doesn't even matter who it is. This team's so close. Doesn't matter who goes on the ground. Everyone's trying to get over there and see if they're all right, get them back up.
Connor McGovern brought to you by Texas Lotto, speaking on the Tyron Smith injury and really the moment that it happened, the reaction afterwards, and even saying he got a grunt from Tyron afterwards, which is normal for those in the interaction that they have. But it is still up until December. It looks like we're not going to have Tyron Smith as a part of the Dallas Cowboys moving forward. Back here with Special Edition. Now it's time to look at the other options. Where else do you go from here? And Tyler Smith is at the top of that list, first-round draft pick, taken with the 24th overall pick. And Nate, I'll start with you. As a rookie, he's really seen exclusive reps at the guard spot. Is he ready to move out to tackle, and can he do so in a pinch like this?
This is more than a pinch. Is he ready to be our starting left tackle for a long time to come? He played that in college. He was fairly good at it. But his technique, he has to go overtime. When other guys walk off the field, he has to stay out there and get extra reps. He has to ask the DeMarcus Lawrence, the young Parsons, he got to get actual reps at doing this, because out there, your hands are more exposed than it is at left guard. So if he's going to be successful at that, he has to go overtime starting yesterday.
Yeah, and to me, I think, putting Tyron Smith out there at tackle is one of the better options that the Cowboys do have. The only thing that concerns me about that is the whole, training camp process where you're, developing a player and making sure he's ready for a specific position going through the NFL regular season. Correct me if I'm wrong, but he played that all at the left guard position. So you're throwing an already raw rookie out there at left tackle to go against, Shaquille Barrett and those Tampa Bay Buccaneers for that first week one contest. It's a slippery slope, but it's one of the best options the Cowboys have.
It's one of the best options that they have, but it's not what they really want. I mean, obviously they brought him in to play alongside, Tyron Smith, and for the last few years they've been planning for a backup plan for Tyron Smith for whenever he gets hurt. They went out there. They obviously this year they went ahead and got Big 7-3. They went out there and got Josh Ball last year. They got Let's Go this year, and all of their backup plans seemingly have kind of just fallen. Right? Josh Ball hasn't had the preseason that he's wanted. Let's Go got injured early on in camp, and obviously now Tyler Smith. Now you take him from a guard position where he was competing with Connor McGovern, and now you're going to try to fulfill him and back to what he did in college. So it's not the way they drew it up, but it's going to have to be the way that they color it in.
Yeah, basically, if you're talking about Tyler Smith at the left tackle spot, you're moving up the timeline, because the timeline was there anyways. At some point, he would replace Tyron Smith as the left tackle. But now it's Tyler Smith that's going to have to move out there if you want to make that decision. But there are a couple other options, as Isaiah just alluded to, with Matt Waletzko, with Josh Ball. Do you feel comfortable with those two guys as the swing tackle option, keeping Tyler Smith at left guard if that ends up being the decision? Or is there outside options that you can maybe explore?
I don't like either one of those options. I think that Josh Ball has had a pretty bad camp, honestly, you know what I'm saying, respectfully. I don't think this is not the way that he drew it up. Let's go. The injury that he has is an injury that I've sustained 2 years simultaneously, so I know what he's up against, and I don't think that at his position he can really be sustainable throughout the year. I think there's guys that are out there. Obviously, nobody's going to give up their left tackle in the league. So in terms of trading, I don't really see that being something that you can really seek out, even though they do have a lot of assets. But I think you have to turn to guys that maybe retired a year ago, guys like Marcus Cannon. Marcus Cannon, he's from the area. He has a ranch out in Dallas-Fort Worth area. He's been out of football for about a year, but he has, Pro Bowls underneath his belt, 3 Super Bowls. I think that might be somebody that they might turn to and might call up.
Yeah, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I don't believe that the swing tackle is on this Cowboys team right now. You talked about Josh Ball and what he was able to do in this training camp, and it wasn't very impressive. And then you have Waletzko dealing with an injury as well. You don't want to throw a raw rookie out there. So to me, you're going to have to look elsewhere to fulfill that void that Tyron Smith left.
I hear buzzing, and it's a buzzing of the phones getting burnt down. Whether they make a move or getting, like you guys said here, but they have to find somebody, because Josh Ball, no. Waletzko, no. You're moving the kid Smith out to the left tackle, find you a guard, and let's go with it.
There's options there. It's never the best option. The best option would be having 77 at the left side, growing your interior guys and continue forward with that. But that's not the case. And it also puts pressure on Dak Prescott as well. How much of the pressure in terms of the success of this offense is now on QB1? Him, Kellen Moore, who's got more pressure on him? We'll talk about it when we come back with more Special Edition right after this.
This segment was brought to you by Salvation Army. Love Beyond. This segment is brought to you by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas.
I'll do what I'm asked to do. Being the quarterback of this team, and anytime you're playing this position, you know your responsibilities to get other guys to go, to come with you, to get other guys to be locked in, be disciplined. There's no different whether receiver core is old or young. They look for me for answers. I look for them just to communicate and be on the same page, and we'll continue to do that and continue to grow.
There's a lot of youth in that wide receiver core for Dak Prescott compared to last year where he had Amari Cooper, he had Cedric Wilson, and he was able to break the franchise record with 37 passing touchdowns in a single season, passing Tony Romo's previous mark of 36. And take a look at his 2021 stats, and now he has to do it without Tyron Smith in the fold. And during our soundbite there presented by AT&T, he didn't get the chance to talk about Tyron Smith because he didn't know about it yet. Now we know about it. Tyron Smith's not available. How much pressure, Barry Church, is on Dak Prescott to carry the offense this season?
Oh, I think there's a lot of pressure on Mr. Prescott out there to get the job done this season, especially if you're relying on his arm to get the job done. Because outside of, his bona fide number one receiver, CeeDee Lamb, and then you got Dalton Schultz out there as well, there's a lot of unproven talent out there. When you're talking about the young rookie Jalen Tolbert, Noah Brown, who's caught in a handful of passes throughout his career, and then you got the undrafted rookie free agent Dennis Houston. So there's a lot of pressure for Dak to make sure he elevates this team and this offense to get it where it needs to be. But Nate, you know what can resolve that pressure? Developing a strong rushing attack.
Definitely. They have to run the ball. Kellen Moore is going to have to find a way to run the ball. Him and Coach Philbin got a gun. They got to do it at least 45% of the game. They got to run the ball, because if they don't run the ball, you put this thing on Dak's shoulders where it's 50% of the time, they're going to come after him.
You guys just heard it here. Dak Prescott has a lot of pressure on him. The running game obviously sets up Dak because he is truly better when he's playing off of play action. But the pressure is really on Kellen Moore, even more so than Dak. Kellen Moore now has to find a way to scheme things up to start this season off without two of his top receivers and his best protector on the offensive line. That's where the pressure's at. He has to find a way to get these guys getting the ball down the field.
But ultimately, the pressure's on the shoulders of Prescott, too, because he's the one out there. He's the coach on the field. He's the leader of that offense. And Barry, you mentioned it a moment ago. I mean, a young wide receiver core, can he take them to the next level? Because that's what an elite quarterback does. He elevates the guys around him.
That's what's going to be expected of him. He's going to have to elevate those guys around him. I'm sure if things break down and go down, you're going to be able to throw the ball to CeeDee Lamb, and he'll have to make a play for you. But there's going to be instances where those other receivers, they're going to have to step up.
Do you think he can do that?
I think he can, without a doubt. I put Dak Prescott in that elite upper echelon quarterback tier.
What about you?
I know he's fully capable of making plays, but the thing is, I don't care how great of a quarterback you are, if you don't have the protection and you don't have a running game to take some of that stress off you, you're going to be in a world of trouble.
You're talking about a quarterback that's going to have to move around. They have to do a lot of sprint outs. The pocket cannot be in the same place the majority of the time. 3-step, 5-step, they're going to have to live with. Talking about a 7-step drop, you better move the pocket, correct?
Yeah. Got to find a way to be mobile, and especially, I mean, does it help you find a little bit of peace, the fact that the outside pressure is where it's coming and it's not interior pressure, or is it all the same whenever guys are getting in your face like that?
Let's take one out of the Rock's book. It doesn't matter where the pressure's coming
from. Pressure is pressure. That makes a whole lot of sense. And the Cowboys defense is looking to provide some pressure of their own. Dan Quinn and company, one of the best defenses turnover-wise in the league last year. How can they improve upon that? How can Dan Quinn and this defense take the next step when we come back with more Special Edition?
This segment was brought to you by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas.
I'd have for our team this year is, can we force and recover more fumbles? And so that's been one of the points of emphasis as we're heading into this camp. It was that through the off season. So if we can add that part, to the interception side of things, I think we'll be right back there where we want to, in terms of an attitude for the ball.
DCDQ has been bringing the energy like Reliant since he's arrived here at the Dallas Cowboys and at the Star in Frisco. Overall, a vast improvement from 2020 to 2021 for that Dallas Cowboys defense. And as we return here to Special Edition with Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans. Can he do it again? That's the biggest question. Does he have to do it again, especially with some of the questions on the offensive side of the football? Barry, does this defense have a massive amount of pressure to take that next step here in year number 2 of Dan Quinn?
Without a doubt, I think they're going to be better, and they have to be better, especially like you said, with all the question marks that are on that offensive side of the football. I mean, when you look at this defense, they took the football away better than any team in the National Football League last year, but they were also ranked 20th in the league against the run, allowing 115 yards per game. So they're going to definitely have to get better in that front seven against the rushing attack. I believe Dan Quinn, Micah Parsons, and them boys, they're going to be able to improve on that ranking and improve where they were last year.
Totally agree. I believe that if they just simply improve their rush defense, if they can find their way in terms of top 10 in terms of turnover margin and top 10 in terms of their defensive rushing attack, I think that they will be perfectly fine to do more than what they did last year.
I think they set the tempo in every practice we had during training camp. Even when we went against other teams like Denver and against the LA Chargers, they set the tempo. Our defense was leading the way. They were the rallying point, so they know what they have to do. It's a lot of pressure on them, but I think they're prepared in their second year under Dan Quinn.
And, of course, last year it really felt like the secondary took a next step with Trayvon Diggs, Anthony Brown, Jordan Lewis kind of leading the way there. Are they now the strength of this team, or are we still looking at the defensive line as one of the stronger units? Barry, you used to play in the secondary. Are you going to back up your guys here? Are you going to go to the secondary, or is it the defensive line that's the strength of this unit?
And being a former safety, I really wanted to go with the secondary as being the strength, but just looking at the caliber of players that they have along that defensive line and the depth that they have on that D-line, I have to say that the D-line is the strength of this defense right now. We'll see later on in the season what can happen, but right now it's got to be D-Law on that defense.
Defensive line takes the cake on this one, y'all. I think that those guys, if they can continue to improve upon what they did last year, obviously they have some more guys on the interior side to be able to have an effect on the rush defense. And then add Micah Parsons, Anthony Barr, those guys to this already party that second place, they're going to be perfectly fine.
And that's where I'm coming from. I'm saying more of the defensive ends. Adding Barr to this rush group, adding Parsons to this rush group, adding Dante Fowler, and then to watch the young Sam Williams. I mean, he may need to work on a few moves, but you're talking about unlimited power and strength and energy. This kid got it going on.
Okay, you mentioned some of the names on the outside there. You mentioned the inside, Isaiah, of guys that you're looking for. Who do you expect on the interior to take a step up? Because at the beginning of this segment, you said you need to stop the run. That's where it's going to start.
You got Gallimore, you have Osa Odigizua, you got Tristan Hill, you got a lot of guys that are going to be trying to penetrate. I don't believe that Big Ridgeway, this year's draft pick, is going to have a big impact. He'll have an opportunity to help out, but those guys I mentioned are going to be awesome.
Which guy on that list do you think will have the best season?
Osa Odigizua.
Why is that?
I think because of his power and his speed, his ability to get vertical is absolutely everything.
Where do you think, Barry?
I'm right on there with you with Odigizua. I think this guy is a star in the making. I think his ability to hold linemen off of the linebackers and letting Micah Parsons go sideline to sideline will prove dividends for this rushing attack.
It's going to be fun to watch. And Nate, you mentioned all the edge rushers, so I'll leave it at that.
But Gallimore is going to be the man. So
you think so? Okay, there you go. A little bit of
Barr,
debate.
we play in Denver. He will be all right. The altitude.
He said it was a blinking red light. Well, hopefully he can get that right for Tampa Bay moving forward. So interior defensive line, the exterior, you look at these guys, that's where you want the strength of this defense to be. So keep that in mind moving into 2022. When we come back here on Special Edition, what event took place this past week that had everyone talking at the Star in Frisco? We'll be right back.
Special Edition, presented by AT&T, was brought to you by Ford F-Series, the best-selling truck in Texas. Miller Lite, the only beer of the Dallas Cowboys. And by AT&T, official sponsor of the Dallas Cowboys.
Wrapping things up here on the final segment of Special Edition from the Globe Life Studios at the Star in Frisco. Isaiah Stanback, Barry Church, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans. And while things are just wrapping up here on this episode, things are just starting to get kicked off for the 2022 season for the Dallas Cowboys. The season kickoff event presented by blockchain.com. It was the inaugural event. The blue carpet was spectacular. The fans were rowdy. And even the NFL Network played the show or is playing the show. I mean, there are so many different things going on starting Frisco. You even got to see First Take out there a little bit, Isaiah. Did you get a chance to go mano-a-mano with Stephen A. Smith?
I went out there. I saw Stephen A. getting out the doggone helicopter. I didn't like it.
Whoa. That's a little fun. Keep that in mind. We'll see you next week with a season preview special edition coming up soon.